Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to the show. And as you can tell, today we are joined by a very special guest indeed. You may know him best as Tristan from the hit show Skymed. Today we are joined by Kheon Clarke. Kheon, how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing?
I am fantastic as well. Skymed for me has really taken a lot of people by surprise, I feel, with the show. And something that I've been kind of really blessed to be able to speak to quite a few cast members. And it's really cool to kind of get a feeling of the kind of unity feeling that all of you have on the show. Is fantastic. So I can't wait to get to talk to you about it.
Awesome. Well, I'm ready. I'm here for you and for the fans. So let's get into it.
Um, so I guess something I always like to start with every guest is before we kind of talk about the main role in the main show, I'd like to for people to kind of get to know you personally a bit first. So how did you kind of first start in acting?
Well, funny story is, have you guys ever seen High School? Well, not you guys. I'm specifically talking to you, but I'm also talking to your audience. But you ever seen that movie High School Musical? Yeah, my
Of course.
path was kind of like reverse on that. So I was the athlete, got asked to like playing football, like American football and basketball, and I got asked to join the drama club. But I took the peer pressure the other way. I was like, oh, sports is more important. Then when I finally get to university playing football, we needed electives to fill out our course load. So I saw an intro to theater course. So I'm like, okay, it shouldn't be that bad. Like I was kind of nervous. I've never done any kind of like acting before, but my whole life I've always been interested in it. And I did my first class, like I guess naturally. I got, what did I get in that class? Like a 98 or something like that. So it kind of clicked to me. It's like maybe there's something here, right? So I did that a little bit in university, and I ended up minoring in theater. I'm an English major, and I did a couple plays, and I really loved it. But then kind of life got in the way, and I was with my long term ex, and she convinced me to kind of like get back into it. So I decided to get an agent in Toronto, and I was doing commercials here and there, but I wasn't really getting into film and TV. And me and the ex broke up. Then we got into then I moved to Vancouver, found my agent that I'm with now, and been going strong. But I guess to answer your question, maybe I think I've been actively acting for about 8 years total, if you don't count the years that I took off. But yeah.
Wow, that's incredible. So do you feel then, as you said, you kind of found this course that you started. Did you always kind of feel that there was a bit of like a natural element, or is it something that you really felt like you really had to graft and grind to kind of get to where you're at now?
Um, I'd say it's like a bit of both. I guess for the intro to the theater program, one of the first assignment, not assignment, but the first exercise that we had to do, um, our professor asked us to mime kind of like a typical day, like a Sunday. You're just eating a bowl of cereal, watching TV, and all my other classmates they kind of, did their fantastical renditions of that exercise, like I don't know, crawling for the remote, getting that last drop of milk, and then I guess I took it as the approach of like, all right, I'm going to build my world, and even though I'm sitting in front of all my classmates, I don't see them. I'm imagining the whole room. I feel the weight of the bowl in my hand. I feel the weight of the spoon, and I'm eating it. Like, and everything I'm doing, it's like I'm visualizing it, but also kind of feeling it at the same time. So I, well, it was like I guess a class competition, and I guess I won that for being, I guess, the most method or real in that in that moment. So for me to be able to like do that naturally kind of clicked to me. It's like, okay, I think I have something here, but also there's a bunch of elements with acting that I had to master because I was definitely the type of guy that had to make everything a joke. Was like terrified of connecting with my feelings, especially for scenes because it made me feel uncomfortable. So even though it was like scripted to be like emotional and have that deep connection, I just always had to. Oh, this makes me feel uncomfortable. I'm going to turn this into a joke and make it funny. And obviously, you can't get away with doing that for your whole life. So I kind of had to learn how to deal with my emotions, connect my emotions to my acting, and just to try and bring a more real element to the things that I'm doing. So yeah, to answer your question, a bit of both, a bit of natural and a bit of I had to study to perfect my craft. Still a work in progress.
Yeah, that's something with this industry that I find, and I hear even from people that are like, I interviewed somebody that's, I believe she's like 50, she's been in the industry about 50 years.
Wow.
And even to this day, she's like, I'm still learning. I'm still like picking new things up. I'm still figuring things out. And it's kind of like a forever growing industry, which I think is quite rare in like the modern world, is that you're no matter how long you've been in, you're always gunning to try and perfect something that you maybe won't necessarily perfect, but there's always like an evolution aspect of it, which I find really cool.
100%.
So maybe even before you started classes, was there kind of like a show, a movie, or like a genre? Was there something you had in mind that you were like, that would be like such a cool role to play, or kind of such a cool genre to play
Um, okay, well, to answer that question, I'm gonna have to go way, way back
in?
to maybe I think I was maybe like 7 or 8 years old. I don't know if you remember this, but in the early '90s, I don't know if I'm giving my age away, but anyways, there's a movie that came out. It was like a newer '90s version of the Little Rascals, and I don't know why that movie stuck out to me specifically. Maybe it's because there was a bunch of kids that seemed, my age, riding around in go karts, getting into all kinds of hijinks. The comedy was there. It was just, it's like, So when I saw that, I kind of saw myself like I can do that. Like I can like, and even some of the kids, I'm not trying to like downplay anyone's acting in any in that movie, but like even at that age, I'm like, I'm pretty sure I could do a better job than that. I didn't know how, but like I just believed it. So the first movie that ever made me want to be like, wow, like I need to be doing this with my life was The Little Rascals. I think the movie came out in '93. Again, I'm not. Well, if you can do math, you can guess my age. But anyway, we're not gonna talk about that anymore. But yeah, that's the movie that stuck out to me the most from a young age. But if I was to say as I got older, um, I guess there's a series called Friday Night Lights. I don't know if anyone's like ever heard of
Mhm.
it. I'm a big American football guy, so I was kind of so as I was doing like the theater program, just kind of going through the motions. I was watching that show in between classes, and it just kind of reinvigorated that like spark that I had from when I was a kid. Even when I was in university, I was like, I don't know how my life's gonna turn out, but all I know is I need to be on set. So there you go. If that kind of answered your question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what I quite like is it feels like as well that even from an early age when you're talking about the show, when you're saying like you were kind of comparing, thinking I could do better. You can see there's even a part of like competitiveness in you as well, which especially saying you kind of went into football, I think it kind of like comes full circle, really.
Yeah, for sure. It's funny because I was talking to my younger brother, and he's 9 years younger than me. And I don't know if you've ever done this. Talk to an older sibling, just ask them like, "Hey, like, what's like a progress report? How have I been as a brother to you and whatnot?" And the first thing he said is uh, he's like, "Yeah, you're super competitive." And I don't. Super competitive people maybe don't really see themselves like that, or like I try not to be, but it's just part of me, right? Like I'm not trying to compete with anybody. I try to compete with myself, but I definitely, if there's a challenge in front of me, like I accept it with a big smile on my face. I'm like, all right, let's go. That's just like my personality. So I guess he
Yeah.
was right in a sense. Yeah.
No, and especially like you said, going into, I always find that anybody that played sports at any age, I think always has that rooted competitiveness. And then you've kind
Mhm.
of gone into an industry which is like arguably the most competitive industry in the world. So I definitely think that that's definitely kind of stood you in good stead, really, that you have that kind of inside you.
Yeah, I think playing like American football, my coach used to have this concept called flushing it. Say for example, like you're on the field, you mess up on a play, or you I played receiver. If you drop a pass or you just blow an assignment, like instead of worrying about it and like causing like a big fuss, as long as it didn't cost us the game, flush it, move on to the next play. So I guess that mentality helped me deal with the rejection of not getting a call back for auditions, like a show ending, any type of disappointment that you could face in the industry. I think I've already kind of been mentally conditioned to handle it. So I almost moved through it like a centurion mindset, just kind of, all right, that's finished. I keep it moving, marching forward. And that, I don't know. I guess that's just how my brain works. I guess I've always been Mr. Optimistic. If if everything looks like worms and mud, I can always find the sunshine in anything. I don't know why. It's just my spirit, I guess.
You know, that's something that's really refreshing to hear. And I definitely would like to kind of, I'm definitely going to clip that moment because I really like that concept of whatever kind of rejection you have, as you said, just flush it and move on to the next. Because I think there is this thing in people now, I'm very guilty of it, of harboring onto like rejection and harboring onto things, and it just kind of manifests into this big thing that really doesn't need to kind of be there. So I really
Yeah, and you're
like that
blocking.
mentality.
Yeah, and like if you're stewing on like something that's like negative that's happened, the moment's already gone. Like they've made their choice. Just like move on and like because if you stay in that energy, you're also like keeping energy from that, and it could possibly block another opportunity from happening for you. So flush it, refresh, keep going, and I think that's how. Well, I can't speak for like everyone, but like for me specifically, how I keep like a good mental space navigating through an industry like this. So yeah, I'm happy. I'm blessed.
Awesome. So of course, what I know most people are here for is we absolutely have to talk about Skymed.
For
Um,
sure.
so I first I first learned about Skymed through interviewing Mercedes Morris.
Mm,
So I was chatting to her, I think over a year ago, and I remember she told me that she's in this show, so she said to keep an eye out for it. And so I watched it, and that first season just hooked me. And I'm not kind of usually somebody that's into kind of UK medical like dramas and action movies. They're very much not set like this over here. So
mm,
for UK audience, it's totally something different and refreshing, which I think I love personally. Um, and for me also, a key thing that I love about the show and why I think it's done so well is there isn't one central character. There's not one central story. There's this group of collective people, all diverse, um, each character being, for me as well, relatable, which again, in this kind of today's world, we don't have a lot of that. And that's why I kind of think it does so well. Um, why do you feel, or sort of a main reason why the show's definitely grown the way it has?
just to piggyback off of what you said, it's such a diverse cast of characters. In a way, I think most people can resonate with a lot of the characters in the show. Like I'll get DMs from fans of the show, like, "Oh, I love the relationship between you and Novak. It reminds me of the dynamic between me and my partner." Or um, they'll talk to me about like other characters, like, "Oh, I like when you see Mercedes, tell me that tell her that I love her, and like her playing Lexi inspires me." Or you'll hear people talking about um, Haley's character and how they can resonate with her, and or Morgan. It's it's interesting because when you're doing the show, you're not really like thinking about it because you're just coming in as an individual. Like, okay, I'm this
Mm.
person. I'm gonna bring a piece of me and also like all the skills that I've learned to bring this character to life. And I think the fact that we're all so different as a cast, it it helps bring that. I want to say like difference, but also like a good cohesion because not everyone's the same because everyone has different like skill sets. Like for example, I'm the only one in the cast that like that can't sing well. I can hold a tune. Like I'm just going through the cast. I'm like, okay, everyone's like singing. I'm like, dang, like the only thing I got is I don't know, I'm kind of funny, but other than that, like you know what I mean? So like everyone's different, and just because one person has like a skill more than the other person doesn't mean that anyone's like better than anyone. And it's kind of like the same thing with when you look at the world. It's like everyone has a certain uniqueness to them, even if you don't believe it. Like based off of what everyone else tells you, you're unique, you're different, you are special. Don't let it go to your head, but like it's important to see that. And I think the audiences sees that in our show and in our characters, and I think it just draws everyone in. It's because okay, I'm gonna watch this show because I can resonate with this character. Like, yeah, exactly. I would do the same. You know what I mean? It's almost like I'm pretty sure you've watched shows where you're like, yeah, that's my boy. Yeah, you tell him. Like, you know. So like, if I'm glad that the audiences are feeling somewhat similar into that direction. So that just shows that we're doing a great job. And I'm just ecstatic that everyone's loving the show so much.
Yeah. What's it like for you when you first kind of got told about the role and you auditioned for the role? What was that whole process kind of like for you?
Um, I don't want to say I got Skymed off of like a fluke or anything like that, but I'm just gonna be truthful and honest about how I got the audition. Well, I got the audition, but I was actually preparing for something else during that day, and it was like I think it was like a 10, 12 pager, and it's just like chunks of like dialogue. So I spent the majority of my time doing that, and I was taping with my homeboy Kareem Malcolm. Shout out to Kareem Malcolm wherever he is in the world. I know where he is. He's with his girl. But yeah, like he helped me with that first tape, and then we got it finished and like edited, and I checked my email to upload that audition I was taping for. Then I saw that I got an email for this show called Skymed, right? But it wasn't due until like a couple days, and I was looking at the dialogue and everything. It was like wordy, but for some reason, as I was reading it, it's just everything just kind of like I don't know. Usually when I'm like studying my lines, it takes me like a little bit to get like a good flow of what I have to say. But I'm not even joking. I took less than 10 minutes, memorized all the lines, and it just everything just flowed like well. And he was about to leave, and I was like, "Hey, bro, like I don't know, this is due a couple days. You want to just like help me knock this out?" Because I don't know, it was just feeling good, right? I didn't even fully read the character descriptions or anything. I just kind of like went into it, just let me just like okay, I don't really like know much. Okay, crunch for time. Let me just put a little bit of myself into it and just go and just be truthful and honest in my acting. And I did that. Uh, I think we did two takes, and after the last take, we kind of like looked at each other. We're kind of like, I think that was it. I think that was it too. Little did we know what it would turn into, right? So that's how I got the role. And then I got an email from my agent saying I was pinned, and I was like, okay, like you pinned for something like you're in the running. And then it was like FYI, just to know that this character is like LGBTQ, and I was like, oh, okay. Like I'm open to it. Like I'm not afraid of that. But I obviously I wasn't paying attention to that description. And when I got it, I was kind of like, okay, so, and then they're like, there's gonna be like sex scenes. I was like, oh, all right. I've never done a sex scene before, period, with a man or a woman. So this is gonna be interesting. So there was like one final straw. I was like, okay, how sex scene are we talking? Are we talking like regular like CBS type stuff, or are we talking more on like the HBO where you see some thrusting and there and then she's my agent laughs. She's like, no, it's gonna be more on like it's everything leading up to. I'm like, okay, I can do this. Like, I'm comfortable with who I am. So, yeah. So that's how I got the role. It's kind of like a fluke. Actually, no, I have a little bit of a beef with the production. Don't worry, I don't think they're actually getting mad.
Let it vent,
Uh,
let it out.
yeah. So after like we got like the test deals with it, we sent them back, we signed everything, and I'm not even joking. I think they took like 3 weeks and they told us three different days. Like, oh, we'll know the answer by like this day. So you're waiting on a Friday. Your heart's pounding because it's for me, it's like my first show deal. It's like, okay, like I don't know what's gonna happen, but I try to keep everything even. But like it's hard. Like you're excited, but like terrified at the same time. Oh no, by Friday, text my agent. oh, they said they'll know by Sunday. I'm like, all right. So not Sunday, Monday. Monday comes. Call my agent. All right, do we know anything? Oh, they said they'll know by Thursday. I'm like, they're playing with my emotions right now, right? So then I heard like Thursday, and then I swear they waited till like the last. I think I got the call maybe like at 7 p.m. on like Thursday afternoon, and it was. I think I was with my like ex girlfriend at the time, like a different ex, not my long term ex, and she's there freaking out like, oh my gosh, congratulations! I'm on the phone like it's like hard to get excited because I'm like, you've been playing with my emotions for weeks. And so like I got the excitement came later, but at the moment I was kind of like, I don't know how to feel right now. But it was a beautiful moment, and yeah, I don't know if that was long winded, but that's how I got the show.
No, do you know what? I love that. Firstly, with that the sort of like the phone call that you had to wait a few weeks.
Mm.
If it makes you feel any better, you are the third person that said that now from the show. So both Morgan and Mercedes had the same kind of vibe. So I'm kind of getting that, but I think it's just there's this eagerness as well, right? Like you kind of
Mm.
once you kind of know you're casted for a role, you just for me, I'd imagine you're just so ready to get started. So every day
Mm.
must feel like a week. So I
Yeah.
can understand that. And again, with kind of the audition process, for me, I feel like I know people talk about luck and right place, right time, and kind of things feeling natural, but I feel like there's always reasons why that happens. And I feel like there was steps you probably took in your life you didn't necessarily know about at the time that led you down this path to audition for this role. And like you said, I think sometimes, as I'm sure you kind of felt when you auditioned and you said you did what, two tapes, three tapes, and it kind of felt like it was done. The
Mm.
natural kind of it being that natural kind of must have made you feel like this is something that's just feels different compared to everything else I've auditioned for.
Oh, 100%. I guess when it was done, I had a good feeling about it, but going back to that whole flush it thing, whether it's like it's not just like a bad play. Like flushing it also means like, okay, cool, we just scored like a touchdown. Cool, flush it on to the next play because we got to keep it going, right? So for me, I knew I did a good job, but I also have the understanding of like, well, it's not up to me. There's like a million different factors that could play into me not getting it, and I know at least sometimes maybe like 80 people in a room have to agree. Okay, this guy is the guy for the role. So for me, I just did what I did, flushed it, and left it in the universe's hands. So even when I got a call back for like the pen, I was excited. But at the same time, I'm like, all right, don't get too excited because I guess I'm a type of person. I don't like to get too low or too high. I like to keep everything right in the middle because you can go one way or the other in an extreme. You can either go too far in that direction and it can end up bad, or go too far in the other direction, it can end up bad. But I think if you kind of stay relatively like I guess like mindset wise in the middle, it kind of helps you deal with like disappointment or anything a little bit more. But I just kind of like to keep my mind clear. Like, okay, good, this is a blessing. Well, we'll see what happens. So, so I'm not just like, oh, wishing, hoping, because
Yeah.
that's like energy that like I don't want to. It's like unuseful, useless energy about something that I have no other control. I did my part of the things, like my energy and effort into the tape, but for them to decide to choose me, that's not in my hands anymore.
Right, absolutely. So going into playing Tristan, how did you approach kind of learning all the medical terminology and how to kind of properly act like a medic? How did you kind of approach that and kind of get to understand the terminology behind it?
Well, here's two things. I'm not gonna lie, like the medical terminology was a struggle, but like you practice, practice, practice. But I don't know if this kind of helps, but like my mom was a nurse
Oh, same.
growing up. Yeah, so like even though like I've heard some of the terminology before, like I had like a very like familiar like idea of like the do like what a nurse like does, and it's not the typical like, oh, you're sick, let me just bring you a hot water bottle, like you know what I mean? Like I like my mom would tell me about like her days and stuff. So I guess maybe going into it, and especially a lot of those like dangerous situations where like blood's flying everywhere and there's chaos. You got to have like that sense of like calm, like okay, I'm trained, I know what I'm doing, I'm here to help. So when I guess that mindset, like you know, what, shout out to mom. Mom helped me with that one, but by just watching her through my life. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's so cool. I love the fact that you can kind of draw that. As you said, I know there would have obviously been a lot of practice, a lot of repetitions, but that's really cool that you can kind of think back to kind of, like you said, stories or things that your mum knew. So you kind of weren't too alien for the whole, I guess, procedures of it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and one thing as well that a lot of people talk about with Skymed is the scenery. So from our perspective and the viewers, it's kind of one of the most captivating like sceneries we've ever seen. We don't get that kind of scenery over here, like nothing compared. So, what's it kind of like getting to film in those kind of areas?
Well, it's okay. The scenery is beautiful, even in the wintertime. Like I like to call myself an island boy. I was born in Jamaica, so
Oh,
the
no.
the cold is, and me are we're trying to get used to each other, but you know it's been a long battle. But you know it's interesting. Like there's a lot of beautiful scenery, and then when you watch it all put together, it's kind of like this is gorgeous. But when you're actually out in those elements, like for example, being outside in like the cold snow at like 3 a.m. shooting like a rescue scene. Um, that was different. I'll say that. But once the director yells, you know, you hear that like what is it, that A marker, roll sound, roll camera, action. It's like everything else in the real world, like that I'm used to as like Kheon goes away, and I'm like, I don't know, it's like I'm locked in, I'm Tristan, I'm not cold, I'm here to help this guy. And then cut, I'm like, okay, where's my hot water bottle? Like, you know, so it was fun. And then yeah, I guess yeah, the cold and me are not the best of friends, but it's all worth it once it's all put together and you see the final product. So I'll shiver. I'll shiver for it.
Would
Yeah.
you say then that was your probably your biggest challenge on set, or would you say there was something else or other factors that were a big challenge as well?
I wouldn't say the cold was like the biggest challenge. I guess my biggest challenge was okay. Well, me in my regular life, like my personal life, being like a straight male and having romantic feelings for like another male, it's not something that I'm used to. But at the same time, it's something that I took seriously because I didn't want this to be like, oh, this is like some like hacky like gay couple. Like I actually wanted to try like my absolute best to do like as honest of work as I could based off of like the limited experience that I do have in my personal life because um like if you ever like talk to Thomas, like he's the first like man I've ever kissed before. So like my first male on male experience was on the show. So but like he's had experiences before on other shows, so he kinda like helped me through it. And just to, because you don't want it to be like, oh, like you're kissing somebody, like, oh, it's not a girl. Ugh. Like you don't want
Mm,
that, right?
yeah.
You want to feel the emotions of like, all right, this is just like another human being. This is a person, and just try to feel attached feelings of like, I know what it's like to actually be in a relationship. I know what it's actually like to feel like you're in love with somebody. So even though there's a man standing in front of me, like you gotta attach those feelings, and you attach feelings of like almost like brotherly love, like love that I have for my brothers as well. So that was like the challenge for me is like not having the life experience in that department, but channeling the other my other life experience to try and formulate something that I could like put out to try my best to give like a like I said before, like as truthful as of a performance as I could, and what my body would allow me to do in those moments. So yeah, it's challenging, but it was like fulfilling. And like if you ask me, would if I saw myself on a show like this, I would say no. But here we are, right?
You portrayed that phenomenally. So I have to
Yeah.
commend you a
Thank
lot for that. So I guess if you take it could be across season one or season two, what would you say was your fondest moment on set, or maybe like a highlight or a memory that really kind of sticks out in your brain the most?
Wow, that is a tough question. My fondest
Hmm.
moment, like while filming or just being with the cast.
It can be in any scenario. Is there just a moment that you really just, it could be whether it's an emotional, funny, is there just a moment that you think back to on that time on set?
Dang. I mean, well, it's kind of hard because a lot of the like the funny moments were like inside jokes. It's not like anything like, oh, no one can know. It's just like you have to like be there to like
Yeah,
to
yeah,
get it. So there's a lot of moments like that. Uh, okay, I'm gonna like butcher this story or whatever, but I think we are hanging out in like Thomas's room one time. I think it was like me, Ace, Mercedes, Thomas, and a new character in our show. She plays Steph. Her name's Sydney. I forget how it came. Like I guess Thomas hadn't finished putting his laundry away, and there was like a sock on the on his dresser, and like Sydney being like one of those people like I just gotta clean, like you know what I mean. So she's picking up a sock, and the way Thomas said it's like, oh, unhand that singular sock, that like something, that one lonely sock that no one knows why it's there. So my dirty comedy brain started rolling, and I'm not even joking. I laughed for 45 minutes straight, nonstop, wheezing. People tried to get me to calm down. I could not. In that moment, that was the funniest thing in the history of planet Earth. And I'm, I'm still laughing at it. But yeah, at that moment, I thought Thomas was like the funniest person on Earth. And so that moment stuck out to me. But filming, I would say season two, the introduction to Steph's character. Well, everyone's kind of like seen the show. I don't want to spoil it. With the, you know, the whole like the bleeding waitress with the belt trick. I
yeah.
don't know if you know what I'm talking about. I saw that live, and I'm like, the audience doesn't know. Listen, she nailed that in one take.
Jeez. Because I've
I'm not
seen
even
it. I know
joking.
what you mean.
Yeah. So like obviously me being behind camera, like I got to give like actors an eye line. So I'm behind the camera watching it live. I was kind of like, I'm supposed to be like, oh, like I'm like, you know, impressed, but like, you know, like this, I'm like, oh, I do this too. This is just a regular thing. But the whole time I was like, and like, and cut. I was like, slow clap. It was beautiful. So like, I think that was probably like my favorite moment because it was just it. You ever see like something just perfectly just happen?
Yeah,
So that's what it was for me in that moment. I was and I'm blessed to like get to witness that. So that was dope. Yeah,
it's mad. Yeah, because I know exactly what scene you're on about, and I can't believe that's one take.
yeah,
People who
like
listen, you have to watch that.
yeah. I mean, obviously there's like little inserts when you get like the close up, but like the
Yeah.
main like wide shot, like like well, she saved the studio a bunch of time, and like we were just all like, what did we just watch? Because to choreograph everything to like to even to get the belt to like when you slap it to wrap around perfect. I don't know. It was just that was I'm gushing over it, but that was wow, perfect scene. Yeah.
Oh my God. So you mentioned Thomas,
Mhm.
who obviously on scene you have, well, on camera as well, from for a viewer's perspective, you have a very close relationship with. So what's your relationship kind of like behind the scenes and offset?
I mean, well, we're both kind of like introverts. Like I'm more. I think I'll hold the title as the most introverted, even though it might be hard to
Oh,
believe
really?
because I'm like energetic and all that. But you know, I do need my time to recharge my social battery. But no, we definitely like me and the boys. We all hang out, especially the town where we film in the North Bay.
Mm.
Like sometime here and there we'll go out or we'll be at each other's place gaming or you know watching like anime. Like I'm a huge Dragon Ball Z fan. I don't know if you guys can tell Capsule Corp. If you know, you know. So we'll watch like episodes of like Dragon Ball Super and like stuff like that, and just kind of like hang out and have like guy time because there's not much else to do while we're on location. So and then like we all like work out together, hit the gym. So I guess that's how I spend time with Thomas outside of the gym. Like say if like he's because I get like this too, right? You have a little bit of time off, like you're not going home, feel anxious. Hey, you want to hit a gym sesh? I'm down. We're like always down to hit the gym. So so we kind of have like a good like relationship with that. It's like, oh boy, want to go to the gym? Sure. And I'll always have like a gym buddy. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. It's always nice to hear kind of people that get to spend time with sort of behind the scenes as well, offset. Um,
Mm.
I imagine as well for you because I know during season one, you still had kind of minor. I don't know how minor or major actually it was. I know you had sort of COVID restrictions. So
Mhm.
did you find for season one having those restrictions? Was it a little bit more difficult to kind of bond with people as opposed to during season two when I believe it was kind of lifted slightly?
Um, I find it difficult to bond with people. No, because I guess we all, as a cast, kind of turned it into like, well, we can't go out, so we're gonna like somebody will volunteer their apartment, and then we'll have drinks or like play like card games and like charades and stuff like that, just to kind of like keep our sanity. So, but for me personally, again, being the introvert, we can't go outside, and then like, yeah, I'm around my castmates, but okay, if they see this, when they see this, I hope they don't take this the wrong way. It's not that I don't like anyone's company. I just need my own personal time to recharge my batteries. So, okay, it's gonna sound horrible, but if you work, like, let's say if you work in an office, right? And if you're not in the office, do you really want to see Pam from accounting like every day? Do you? I don't think you do.
Absolutely.
Unless you got a crush on her, but you know what I mean? So, for me, it was like like I spent a good amount of time with my castmates, and they spent more time with each other, but I need my alone time. But it was also tough because I really couldn't go anywhere, and I didn't want to get COVID and then come back to set and then get everyone sick, and you hear stories of like whole productions getting shut down.
Yeah.
So I didn't want that on my conscience. So it was a little bit tough. I'm not gonna lie, but the few times where we could like fly back to like where we lived and like see our friends and family was needed for me personally. Love everybody again, guys. Love you to death. But we all need our alone time. That's all I'm gonna say.
No, do you know what? I completely 100% back you on that one. I love my friends, I love my family. Work, I accept how my job is. But everyone knows that on some days, I just don't want to see anyone or speak to anyone. I want to just lay back, listen to some music, just completely wind down. I feel like it just really helps recharge like your mental state as well. But I'm 100% with you on needing that time for yourself.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, but season two was a lot more like open. We could go out, and we are only
Mm.
like 3 hours drive from Toronto. So if I had a little bit of, I'm from like I grew up in Toronto, so I just like rent a car, go see my friends and family. So I guess like everyone else, I guess not from Toronto. Like there was a lot more room to like roam around. So I think it worked out beneficially for everyone.
Oh, awesome. Quality. Um, so for people, I'm gonna give some people listening the benefit of the doubt because I know season two has come out very recent. Um, for people listening and watching, what are the biggest differences from Tristan that they can expect in season two as opposed to season one?
I guess the biggest thing you can expect from Tristan is to just, I don't know if expect is the right word. Maybe something to take notice of is like the growth of Tristan navigating what it means to be in a relationship and what it means to be committed to one person and not just because like like he's never been like Tristan's never been in love with anyone before or had a partner before. It was just always quick hookup and back to the keeping the main thing. So you're gonna see, I guess, more Tristan navigating, dealing with some of his old habits of possibly just being being an F boy a little bit, but trying to navigate being truthful and honest in a relationship without giving too much away because I want the audience to watch it and see and just see it for yourself. But yeah, even though it's out, again, I don't want to give too much away. But go watch the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyone watching this, I highly, highly recommend straight after this, you go and jump straight into Paramount Plus where you can watch Skymed season 2. Kheon, I just have a couple more questions, if that's okay. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. Um, I guess these are kind of questions for you personally. So whether it's it's changed as you kind of gone through the years and got older, or maybe it stayed the same consistently. Um, who or what inspires you?
Ooh, that's like a multi-pronged.
Yeah.
Who inspire? Like, are you talking about like a celebrity or like
If
a
is there
family?
anything it doesn't even have to be a person. Is there just anything that you just feel helps inspire you or helps coach you kind of through your day?
Uh, well, I'm not trying to. Well, I'm not gonna get like too deep into it, but I always kind of look back on my life and just kind of see where I came from. Um, well, it's not like a sad thing because like a lot of people have gone through this too, but some people don't know. Like I'm just gonna say this: I know what real poverty is because I've lived it. So I've lived when I was growing up in Jamaica. We lived pretty much in a shack, no running water. My shower was like a hose. You kind of like fasten to like a tree with like zinc around it so you can have some privacy. And my bathtub was like a giant cinder block. And if I wanted a hot bath, my mom would have to bring the big soup pot, start a fire outside, boil it. Like I'm talking like real like third world stuff. So and my toilet was like an outhouse. So I didn't have like a flushing toilet or running water until I came to Canada, until we finally like left. So I guess for me, my motivation is to like a lot of my family, like everyone's like elevated since then. But like I think about like all my family back in Jamaica and some of my family members that might still be going through hard times. But I just like to like remember where I came from and the journey it's taken me to get here, so that it's just kind of like a constant reminder of to I don't know. I appreciate where I come from, and I appreciate what this life has been able to give me, like moving to like a first world country like Canada, and even having the opportunity to live my dream, which I never thought possible because of where I came from. So my motivation is like I always, anytime I might not feel like, oh, I don't want to do something or like my motivation is low, I'll just close my eyes and think back to Jamaica and to think back to like all my family members that um, don't have much anything and just kind of remember like wow, I'm actually like blessed because like a lot of people don't get to come out of a situation like that. And however, shout out to my parents for working hard and like getting out. But I just think about that, like my family, my parents, like my upbringing, and just I just want to like make everyone proud. And I'm not just doing this for me. I'm doing it for like my whole family. So that's the thing that motivates me the most because when you kind of like in a cycle of like negativity, and you're like the family member that's doing something like more positive, and I'm like influencing my younger cousins, and they may not necessarily want to get into acting, but just kind of like motivating to do something more like productive and positive with their lives. So that's like my motivation to know that like my brothers are watching me, My family's watching me, and I just want to do the best that I can to like make them proud. So that's my main motivation.
You know, that's really inspiring what you said. Um, you know, I think, and I definitely think that everyone is guilty, myself definitely included. You know, it's like you said, when you have this constant cycle of negativity, and I have this guilty feeling sometimes where I feel like there's a couple of things that don't go right, whatever it may be, and then I start to feel negative, and then sometimes it like I'm lucky that I've kind of got family members that kind of hit you on the straight path in a way, and they'll say like, stop looking at what you don't have and look at the things you do have. And when you really just look at your life in a just a perspective, you're like, I'm blessed just to have a roof over my head, and as you said, to have running water and food. Like if I want food, it's there, you know. And I think a lot of people get detached from the reality of what a lot of people in this world are still going through to this day. And I think just
Mhm.
being grateful for what you have is something that's definitely lost.
Yeah, 100%. So like I just like a lot of people like they'll. I'm definitely one of those people. I don't need someone to like light a fire under me or anything, or like come on pick it up, or like my biggest motivator is myself. Like if I was look at it, if maybe some people need it and some people don't, but to me, in my perspective, I kind of feel like if you need somebody to constantly tell you to get up, to get motivated, to get out there and go do something, then are you really motivated at all?
Mm.
Is what you're trying to do, is that really your dream? You gotta ask yourself that question, right? So for me, it's always just been like, I'm kind of like maybe not militant minded, but I'm just kind of like I'm on a mission to live my dream and to and just put out as much good to great work as I can before I leave this earth. So that's like my goal, my motivation.
See, I could feel like maybe I'm biased. I feel like I can listen, and I feel like I'll watch this back, and I feel like I can get sparks of like get up and go drive when you get to hear you talk. So I really appreciate those words you said. Um, I know the last question I have, and I know we kind of briefly touched it on at the beginning of the
Yeah.
interview. Um, if you could have a role right now that you could play, what would that be?
Easy. True crime detective taking place in either in the 1970s or the 80s, solving cases for like missing people or serial killers. I don't know why, but like that's like a role that I'm like, if it takes place in the 70s, I want the afro, I want the stash, I want
Yes,
the guns with the holsters, I want the old school Chevy. I want to
Beverly Hill
interrogate
vibes.
people. Yeah, so if there's any producers out there listening, hey, you know where to find me, right? Call my agent. Let's go.
I love that you didn't even have to have half a second to think about that. You just knew straight away what that was.
one Hundred
Um,
percent. I think that's like a dream role for me, like that, and like something more actiony. But I like to think that I can do a range of anything from comedies to dramas to thrillers. So this show kind of helped me realize how much range I actually do have. So
mhm.
I'm open. Send them all my way.
Keon, it has been such a honor and a privilege to speak to you today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to speak to us.
Thank you. It's been an honor and privilege to talking to you as well. You asked great questions, and this interview has been really fun. So I really appreciate it.